Well, good morning, everyone. My name is Mike the CPA. I welcome you to Money and Life TV. On this channel, I do produce videos around finances and investing and taxes. I try to help people understand these important subjects so they can master their finances and really start to build wealth. In today's video, I really want to cover the stimulus check, or everything that's going on with this. Break it down for you in a logical fashion and give you the details. Help you understand if you're going to be receiving a check, when you might not receive a check, how soon you'll get a check, if you're going to have to pay taxes back on this, and so on and so forth. So that's really what I want to cover with you today in this video. This video is not going to be as polished as many of my other ones because I just have a very short time window to film this and just to get this published, to get this information in your hands. So I apologize that it's not as refined, but I figured getting this information to you in a timely fashion was more important than anything else. As always, if you want to help other people see this video, this content, and share this information, you can do so by clicking the like button or sharing this video with others over other social media platforms. And if you did so, I would greatly appreciate it. So let's start off with what is the tax stimulus check. Technically what it is it's an advanced refundable tax credit that's going to apply to your 2020 tax return. And this is all U.S. taxes, by the way, okay, United States tax law, but that's what it is. This check is actually an advanced tax credit. Technically speaking, the big question is everybody wants to know, will you be getting a check? Let's run through a few scenarios, and I'm sure one of these will probably apply to you. Most Americans will receive a check, but let's talk about that. Tax filing requirement if you're not retired. There is a tax filing requirement, okay? So if you filed your 2018 tax return, you're good. If you filed the 2019 tax return, you're good. Because at least your information will be in their system. Now there's income phase-out limitations we're going to discuss here shortly that will determine how much or how little, or if you don't receive a check at all. But filing a tax return is necessary. So as long as you have a 2018 return on file, you're okay. If you do not have a 2018 return on file, then I would highly suggest you file if you were supposed to file in 18. If you did not have a filing requirement in 18, but you have one in 19, I would highly suggest you file your 2019 tax return as quickly as you can, because that's going to help get that information in their system and their database, and it's going to help qualify you for a check. The longer you wait to do that, the more delayed. I don't know how long it's going to delay your check, but it's going to delay it, I'm pretty sure, more certain than not, if you don't have anything in the database filed for taxes. So that is something you need to do if you have not already done so. So let's move on down this list. And by the way, everything you're looking at on screen, it's completely downloadable. I'm going to leave a Word doc handout. It's a Dropbox link. I'm going to put this link to this document in the description section and the comment section of this video. Truthfully, it's hard for me to remember all this new information, and so I want you to be able to download it and read this at any point that you would like to. If you're already retired, if you're just receiving Social Security, you might not have a filing requirement at all, especially if your only income is Social Security, then you wouldn't. But it's okay. You're still gonna plan to receive a check because the Social Security Administration has your information. They have your Social Security information in their database, and they're going to know to issue you a check. So don't fret if you're retired and don't have a tax return filed. Now, what if you're a college student, or what if you're a dependent of somebody else? Now, this is a really big one. Okay, this is really important to understand the differences here. Okay, so if you're a dependent of somebody else, then you cannot receive a check. So if your parents claimed you on their 2018 tax return or 2019 return, you cannot get a check. Now, there are some, exceptions to the rule here. So let's say, now this is true for my brother-in-law. This is a true situation for him. So in 2018, my father-in-law claimed him on his taxes. But in 2019, my brother-in-law can no longer be claimed by my father-in-law. Therefore, my brother-in-law is incentivized to file a 2019 tax return as soon as possible, because now he's going to be able to qualify for one of these checks because he's no longer a dependent of somebody else and he has a tax filing requirement. If you're unemployed or a veteran, don't worry. They're not overlooking that, so you should still expect to receive a check to the best of my knowledge. If you're not living in the U.S., but you're a U.S. citizen living abroad, then you would still qualify for a check as long as you have a valid Social Security number. You should still expect to receive a check. I don't know if there's any other requirements about that. You might want to do some further Google searching, but I think you would still get a check. Now, this one's a little trickier, a little hairier, one would say. Because maybe in 2018 and maybe in 2019, your income was high. Maybe you got promotions, maybe you had a lot of business income, investment income, whatever it may be. But then 2020 comes along, the economy gets slammed, and now in 2020, you have a really large loss of income because of the economic hardships that people are facing right now in this economy. Well, I don't think you're totally out of luck here. I do think what's going to happen for you, if this is your situation, if you're not eligible and for 18 and 19, because of the income limitations we're about to talk about, because this is an advanced tax credit that applies to 2020 taxes, I think what's going to happen for you is you might not get this stimulus right now. But when you go to file your taxes in 2020, at that point, which, in 2021 is when you're filing your taxes for 2020, at that point, I think you could receive a part of the stimulus or all of the stimulus when you file that tax return. No check now, but potential stimulus for you in 2020. I know that doesn't help you right now, but I don't think you're totally going to lose this benefit if you're in this situation. So the next question is, how soon will you receive this check? Okay, or get the direct deposit? So the Treasury Secretary of the IRS said most people should get their payments within 3 weeks. And so I would plan a conservative estimate for that right now is what I'm hearing, what I'm reading is late April. So the 3rd or 4th or last week of April, roughly, is when you should expect to receive your stimulus check. Is it going to come to you in the form of a direct deposit? Hopefully it will, because that's the fastest and secure way to get this. If you have your direct deposit information on file with the IRS, because that was on your 18 return or 19 return, then this should come to you direct deposit, as far as I know of. If you don't have your direct deposit information, in place, then I think it's going to come to you in form of a check. I know some of you may be concerned because maybe you no longer have the direct deposit information set up correctly because you changed bank accounts, or maybe your address on your tax return is no longer the same. The IRS is going to be looking for this. You can expect to receive a letter in the mail or an IRS notice regarding this whole stimulus. If the IRS determines that when they try to issue you that refund via direct deposit, that it kicks back, they're going to issue a letter telling you that, hey, we tried to send this money to that account and it didn't work. And so they're going to notify you via mail if that happens. And then you can get, hopefully from that notice you receive, you can get in touch with them from there. And the same, I think, is true with if they send it to the wrong address, they're looking for that as well. So if you do not, for whatever reason, if you do not receive your check, then when you receive that notice in the mail, make sure you contact them or find a way to get in contact with the IRS regarding that, because I'm sure they'll work something out with you to get this stimulus in your hands. I always hate to cover this, but with any natural disaster, economic disaster, whatever it may be, there are a lot of scammers emerge. It's just true of any time period. And the same is true right now. So look out for scammers. The IRS is not going to call you. I've been working as a CPA now for about 10 years. The IRS does not call clients. They issue them letters in the mail. That's how that works. So you're not going to get a text message from the IRS. You're not going to get a phone call from the IRS. Completely ignore those calls 100% of the time. They are complete BS. And just know that wait for that letter in the mail. Like I said, if you didn't receive your stimulus check, look for that notice to come to you and then contact them from there. Or go to their website, irs.gov, and determine how to get a hold of them regarding these matters. Okay, let's talk about how large your stimulus check should be, or how large you can expect it to be. If you file single, it's up to $1,200 max. If you're married filing jointly, up to $2,400 max, and that's if you have no children. If you have children, and by children, what we mean is any child who is under the age of 17. As far as I've read, as far as I know of, there is no limit to the number of children you can have, as long as they are your children, your dependents, and all that good stuff. So if you have 4 kids under the age of 17, you're going to get 4 checks of $500. That's how that's going to work. There are phase-outs, though, that may limit your stimulus check. Now, I don't know if it's going to limit it right now, or if it's going to have you pay it back in the future, but we're going to talk about that. So let's talk about these phase-outs. So if you file single, your phase-out begins, your adjusted gross income phase-out, whether it's on your 18 return or 19 return, whatever it may be that they're looking at, starts at $75,000. Married filing jointly, that phase-out begins at $150,000, anything above that. As head of household, $112,500 is when that phase-out begins. And right here, it says the stimulus check is reduced by 5% of your adjusted gross income above the start of the income phase-out. Now, that's not really clear of how that works. I have an example in this handout, but just to roughly show you real quick how this works, is you would just take $500, so let's say you're a married couple and your AGI is $170,000. and that's $20,000 over the phase out, right? Of 150. So you're $20,000 over. So you would multiply that amount we're over by 5%. That means that this person their stimulus check would be reduced by $1,000. So instead of receiving $2,400, they would receive only $1,400. Next thing I want to cover is, do we have to pay this back in taxes at some point? As of right now, I am not 100% clear on this, okay? I don't think they've fully laid this out yet. I think most people won't have to. I don't think most people will. But if you're one of these people who you have these phase outs apply to you, you have higher income amounts, then you might. Because if you get a check, this is how I expect it to work. Let's say you get that check that's larger than it should be. So we just looked at an example where, a married couple who had a higher income would only get $1,400 back. But let's say the IRS sends you $2,400 when they shouldn't have, based on your income. Well, what I think is going to happen for those individuals is when they file their 2020 tax return, I think they're going to be reporting a reduced tax credit, so they might have to pay part of that back in taxes. That's as far as I know of. Okay, I'm not 100% sure on that, but to be conservative, that's how I'm going to think about this. So if that's you, I would hold back some money and taxes if you get more stimulus than you think you should have received. We're talking about 2020 taxes. Obviously, those forms aren't released. I think we're going to see the stimulus tax credit somewhere on Schedule 3. So on one of these lines somewhere in here, it's going to be a refundable credit, so in Part 2. And then I think where you're going to see the rest of that show up is on page 40 page 2 of the 1040. It's going to be in lines 18A through 18C somewhere. It's probably where this is going to be reported. Just FYI. Just if you're wondering how this is actually going to appear on the tax forms, I think it's going to be somewhere in here and show up somewhere in here. That's just, food for thought. Retirement plan changes. Right now, you can actually withdraw money out of your IRA or even some of your retirement accounts without facing penalties. So let's read what it says here. It says, normally individuals who withdraw funds early from retirement accounts, typically, before age 59 and a half, must pay a 10% penalty as well as ordinary income taxes. The stimulus relief package, however, provides that distributions of up to $100,000 will be allowed without the early withdrawal penalty being applied. The sum withdrawn may be recontributed to a retirement account within 3 years without being subject to the usual annual contribution caps. So whatever amount you would take out, as long as you put that money back in that account within 3 years, you'll not be hit with that 10% early withdrawal penalty. Especially if you don't need the money, then you might as well put it back in there. It says if it's not repaid, though, for any amount you take out but don't repay, you will have to pay ordinary income taxes on that money, which you would have anyways, regardless of when you took that money out. So that's not going to change. But you have 3 years to put that money back because of this economic hardship, and you can avoid that 10% penalty. The last thing I want to cover with you guys real quickly is just for small business owners. Now, I had a client call me yesterday. He works in the construction sector. And of course, because of the economic hardships we're facing right now, he was thinking he's going to have to lay off some people. But there are loans. The SBA has some government loans available for small businesses. And these are for people who have businesses that with fewer than 500 employees. And so what I would suggest to people, if you're a small business owner and you need to keep your operations going, whether the money is to pay bills, whether it's to keep people on payroll so you don't have to lay them off and put them on unemployment, then this is something I think you should really look into. And if you go to SBA.gov, this is where you can find this information. And it's going to lay out the details, the deets on this economic injury disaster loan program. And as far as I know of, don't quote me on this, guys, because like I said, this information is so new, I haven't had time to read everything. But what I've been hearing is that if you qualify for this program and you apply for one of these loans, it can be very likely that you may not have to repay this loan back, just to help you keep your people on payroll, to help keep, helping those families stay above water, financially speaking. Definitely something to check out. So I would encourage you to check out SBA.gov. And I have this link in the handout, and I'll include it in the description section of this video. Well, guys, that is all the information I have for you today. I just wanted to run through this with you as quickly as I could. I'm sorry, once again, that is not as polished as usual, and may not be as entertaining as some of my other videos, but I just wanted to get this information to you as quickly as I could. Remember, if you're not subscribed to the channel, make sure to do so. And until next time, that is all the information I have for you. I love you all, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace out. Live life uncaged.